For my alternative history task, I'll be talking about Britain as a whole. On a global view, Britain is known for their strong British tradition, but in more contemporary times, we see Britain as being a diverse and a country that is welcoming of different cultures. A quick breakdown of my life. I was born in London, but at 10 I moved to Wales with my family, and then moved back to London at 13. Being scattered about quite a bit has given me an insight of Britain culturally. You generally know Britain from your own experience, and living in London as a child, I knew Britain to be very multicultural. In my classroom, I saw a rainbow of different races. However, when I moved to Wales, I went from seeing a sea of different faces to being one of two black families. Even though London had more division of races, living in Wales was the first time I felt different. Not only was this a change for me, but also for all the white students as well. I was probably the first black classroom encounter they ever had, and maybe even the first black encounter they had at full stop. This displays an appearance of Britain that is completely different to this multicultural image. One memory that stands out of mine during my time in Wales was when I was in year 6. Me and a classmate got into an argument, and what surprised me most was that everyone sided with me against him without even knowing what was going on. Many assumed he was racially abusive against me, even though he wasn't. It was almost like they wanted him to be, so they can defend me. At the time I didn't realise what was happening, but now looking back, I can analyse better. What you can see there was them not being used to being in that situation, and they were overprotective. This could be down to white guilt. White guilt is the individual or collective guilt felt by some white people for harm resulting from racial treatment of people of colour. However, I did experience some forms of racism, from harsh words to threats to move out. A lot of the time it was ignorance. As like I said before, this was probably their first black encounter, and their reaction was to behave in an abusive way. This image of Britain goes against what I saw in London, of this image of multiculturalism, and could be seen as a very white ideology. Perhaps this multicultural image is only shown in major cities like London, as it is the capital and the most iconic. And because of that, the image of diversity is projected. And non-multi-ethnic areas of Britain, like the small town of Wales where I live, are placed in the background. In 2011, white residents took up 87% of the UK, and this figure shows clearly how Britain is not as diverse as we might think. Not only is there a lack of ethnic groups, some attitudes are really against the idea of multiculturalism. Seeing Britain as an anti-multicultural nation makes them appear racist, and could also make it harder to put an end to racist discrimination and prejudice in the UK.